Hello, hello, hello. I am very excited for this episode because if you are an entrepreneur that is wanting to build a life-giving business, one where you're stacking income and stacking memories, which I know that you definitely want to do, this lesson that I'm going to talk about is an absolute necessity. You have to learn this and you have to implement this in your business if you want that type of spaciousness and ease that I know you desire in your business. Now, I was talking with a client the other day and we were talking about what worked versus what didn't work in her business for 2024 and what she wanted to then do differently in 2025 based on the answers to that question. Or I guess there's two questions: what didn't work and what worked. And through that conversation, we started talking about how a lot of what she did in 2024 was very, very last minute. Like, she knew in advance that this sale or this launch or whatever was coming up, but then she didn't execute on it until the very, very last minute, which caused stress and so much urgency and working till 2 a.m. to try and finish all these different things that she knew in advance that she needed to do, but she didn't do it until the last second. And so what we did is we sat down and we mapped out a plan for 2025, very simple. And we just said, okay, these are the dates or the estimate times where we're going to do launches and sales, and how much time do you need to prep in advance to be able to do this, execute on this project, if that's weeks, if that's months, or when do you need to let your team know about it and all of that. And as we were planning out 2025, one thing that she asked me that really, really stuck out to me, she said, how do you plan for all the ideas that pop up into your head that you want to execute on right then and there? Like, I have this idea and then I'm buried in it for the next day or the next week or even the next month, trying to get it done because it has to get done right now, right then. And a lot of us as entrepreneurs, I think we can relate to this, where we have that idea and we're like, oh my gosh, I have to do this right now. And we push aside all of the tasks on our to-do list to get that one thing done. And it really made me think back on my journey through business and how, for I would say the first 2-ish years of business, I was 1000% in a rush. Everything had to be done right then and right there. The second that the issue arose, had to get it done. The second that the idea popped in my head, had to execute it. The second that I got a message, had to respond to that message. Like, nothing could wait. And I felt like I had to execute like that to keep up with everyone else, or else I would feel like I'm falling behind, or maybe students would get mad at me even though I said that I had a 24-hour response time window. Or I felt like if I didn't execute on this freebie idea or this offer idea and someone else did it before me, then there's no way I could possibly succeed doing it, right? And if human design, I'm a Manny-gen, and I move very much with my energy and new ideas. And I actually, during this first few years of my business, learned about human design. And I felt like when I learned about human design and I learned that I'm a Manny-gen, it really just fueled this idea that I work best and I thrive best when I move and do and be immediately. And I remember looking at other businesses during this time period. One specifically I actually remember was Sam Vanderwillen, who is absolutely amazing. I bought basically everything that she sells. She's fantabulous. And she is about to launch her book right now in 2025, but she's been writing it for several years now. And I have been following her, I would say basically since the beginning of her book journey. And she's been sharing little snippets along the way as she's writing the book and getting publishers and all of that. But I remember her sharing an estimated launch date and it being several years in advance. And she just shared it one time. It must have been on Instagram stories or something. And I remember thinking to myself after reading the Instagram story, but why? Why doesn't she just get it all done right now and launch it? Why can't she just write a whole book? And I've never written a book, so I don't really know. But it was just that urgency of but why doesn't she get it all done right now? What if it's not relevant? Or what if? But at the same time, I craved that slower pace of business where it wasn't get it done now or you're going to fail type of feeling. And that's exactly how I felt in that stage of my business. And I remember looking at Sam and feeling wow, that is what spaciousness looks like in a business. And that is the slow pace that I desire. But I also didn't really fully understand that in the moment, if that makes sense. I looked at that and I was like, that would be cool, but that could never be me. But also part of me was I wish that could be me, if that makes sense. And so it wasn't until I became a mom where the brakes were just thrown on my business for me. I was forced to slow down. And I don't mean that in the sense of revenue, but just I I couldn't work on projects at the same pace that I was working on. And I just truly started to understand that nothing is an emergency in business. Absolutely nothing. Let me just say that again so that can stay with you. Nothing is an emergency in business. And that has been the hardest thing for me to learn. When I have an idea, I want to act on it right now. And if I don't, I sometimes even to this day still feel like I'm going to fail or get left behind, even though I know deep down that that's not true at all and that's not going to be the case. Or sometimes I even find myself checking my email at night, even though I have, the time limits on my email and I know that I shouldn't be doing it. And then I see like a customer who needs some tech issue support. And then I'm like, okay, I need to go hop on my computer. I need to help them right now instead of just waiting until the next day, which guess what? My business is not going to burn down. They're still going to be a customer the next day, right? And so it's been a process, but I have to remind myself that if you build your business from a place of urgency, you'll always have to be on for your business to thrive. And you're not building your business with a long term perspective. You're building for instant gratification and oftentimes a lack of strategy because you're using urgency as your strategy. And the thing is, it's not strategy. And that's where I was for the first few years of business. Urgency is not a strategy. Spaciousness and ease and slow paced is how I want my business to look and feel and be. And I can have all of that and still make loads of money, and so can you. And once I started to really let that be my motto and let that seep into my business and all the areas of my business, oh, what a breath of fresh air. What a difference it has made. I feel so much lighter. It's easier for me to step away from work and not just like physically step away from work, but like also mentally step away from work. And I know you get what I'm saying. It's really helped me to be more strategic with the decisions that benefit me and my business more than if I had acted in the moment. I better support my clients. I create better offers that are more transformative. So, this is my reminder to you. Nothing is urgent. You don't need to execute on every idea the second that you get it. Nothing is urgent. You don't need to check your email 20 times because you don't need to respond to every email the second that you get it. Nothing is urgent. You don't need to be on Instagram 24/7 to grow. Nothing is urgent. You don't need to respond to your client's messages the second that it pops up in order to create an amazing client experience. Nothing is an emergency. Nothing is an emergency. And anytime you feel that urgency arise, I just want you to ask yourself, but what if I wait? What if I don't do it right now in this exact moment? And 9.9, I would say, out of 10 times, the answer is nothing. Nothing will happen. Your business will not burn down. You will still make money. You will still serve your clients and your students at the highest level. You will still grow on Instagram. And of course, there are situations that do require those tighter time frames where you might have to get it done then and there. But most of the time, it's something you can do tomorrow, something you can do the next day, something you can mark on your calendar as a future event. Spaciousness is the goal, and urgency is not going to get you there. So my hope is that you sit with this thought and see how it can manifest in your business.